fourth episode of 24 Legacy just dropped, and unfortunately, like the previous 3 episodes, I didn't like it all that much. I was still very underwhelmed by it. So go ahead and join in the comment section. If you liked it, keep trying to convince me. A bunch of you guys are telling me you guys are liking it a lot more than I am and connecting with the characters more than I am. Keep trying to convince me, refute my points. I really do appreciate it because I want to like it. And I'm glad that you guys can appreciate it and like it more than I do because I really do want to like it, but I don't, unfortunately. So let's talk about it. As I mentioned in my previous reviews, kind of my problem with this season thus far is that most of the plot lines feel a little bit too familiar. And when they feel this familiar, you start to nitpick them a little bit more and pry at the logic because you're not swept away in the freshness of the story. And that's kind of a big problem with this season thus far. And the other problem is I don't like the characters yet. I haven't bought into Carter or Ingram, any of these characters really yet. And so then we're on a ride that doesn't feel as fresh as I want it to feel with characters that I'm not crazy about. And that's very much this episode as well. Also say this episode felt a little bit kind of like filler when it comes to the main storyline, and it focused a lot more on the side stories. In particular, the storyline about Carter's wife was the source of the action and adventure side of the show, whereas the other storylines are just like we got a piece of information that moved things forward a little bit, while not much really happening outside of the Carter's wife storyline. So with all this said, I'm going to move into kind of talking about spoilers a little bit, talking through the specific things that kind of bugged me a little bit, talk pretty quickly. So if you haven't watched the episode, go watch the episode and you'll know what I'm talking about when I talk about each of these different elements. So with all that said, like I said, as I was watching it, I just felt like each segment of it either stretched plausibility too much, repeated familiar plot lines, or it just made characters really unlikable. So just kind of walking through the plot lines real quick. One of the plot lines was involving Senator Ingram's campaign manager who has been charged with selling out the Army Ranger guys. And we learned last episode that it was actually Senator Ingram's dad that did that. So the episode starts off with her kind of being interrogated, and I'm just watching it, and she's like really defensive, like, why don't you trust me? Why don't you trust me? And I just kept thinking to myself, because there's a video of you doing something. Like, shouldn't your concern be like, where did this video come from? Like, this video is not real. I get why you don't trust the video because you're seeing it, or why you don't trust me because you're seeing this video. The video's not real. Where did this video come from? Was it doctored? Can we look into this to figure out what's going on? Because something's not right here. That's not what she does. And so the plot line, and then like Ingram's wife talks to Senator Ingram. She's like, we've got a video. So it's her. You know, I know your tendency is to trust people, but look at the video. And I kept just thinking to myself as she's saying that, like, didn't you work at CTU? Aren't you aware of everything, all the other conspiracy theories that have gone on at CTU? Because this show is in continuity with all of the previous seasons of 24, where doctored videos and people have been set up and time codes have been changed and audio's been doctored. All of that's been happening. All the stuff we watched in previous seasons, her job, that's what her job is, to notice, to be aware of, to be looking out for, and not assume things. So if she worked at CTU and was aware of all that stuff that happened in the previous seasons, which she would be since she was over CTU, I would think she'd see the video and be like, okay, it looks bad. We're going to look into this, see if this thing's doctored. We need to make sure. But at the moment, there's a video, we got to arrest her. That's not what happens. So then the story progresses. It turns out, and one of my favorite parts of the episode was we have a back and forth conversation between Ingram and his dad, where his dad kind of eventually opens up and says, this is what's going on. He's trying to progress his son's career and things weren't working right. And so his justification is that he really believes that his son, if president, will be able to be so much better for the nation and the world, therefore rationalizing all the horrible things that he's kind of responsible for. I actually really appreciated the fact that this plot line's moving forward so early in the season. This seems like the sort of thing that would normally kind of have a big reveal at like episode 8. They arrest the dad, then the dad escapes, and something like that much later in the season. But they're really moving it forward awfully early, which I really appreciated about the episode. And I really appreciated the fact that Senator Ingram, as soon as he finds out his dad's up to no good, calls his wife and says, hey, I know who's behind this. It's not her. It's my dad. He doesn't go, I can't trust anyone. Let's meet up somewhere. where I can get assassinated. I mean, it doesn't do any of the stuff you normally see that leads to the information not being communicated. Just makes a phone call, so it progresses. Then we move on to the next plot line that was the one where actually the action happened. That's Carter's wife's plot line. And this is the type of 24 plot line that just kind of drives me nuts. So there's this big, gigantic story going on about terrorism, and they're trying to take out all the Rangers. And so then Carter has to stash his wife somewhere where she'll be safe. And the one place he picks, there just happens to be drug wars and people setting up things to assassinate a guy, and people have to run from the kidnap. All this stuff that's so implausible and doesn't tie into anything. It's just this thing out here that adds a thing that we can cut away to so that there can be action in an episode where they need to progress the story for Carter. And that way, yeah, stuff's still happening, guns, a chase, but it has nothing to do with anything else. And at the end of it, I was like, where is this going? Why is this happening? This is so unnecessary, and it just waters down the show because I'm watching a show about terrorism, and so it just stretched plausibility to such an extreme, and then they're repeating plot lines where both Carter and his wife have been arrested by the police, and we're supposed to go, oh, once again, they've gotten arrested, and they're a good guy. Oh no, wrong place. Whatever we're supposed to be thinking in this situation as they're arrested. Both of them have been arrested in the span of only 4 episodes and released. Stretching plausibility a little bit too much for my taste. Then we move to our main storyline about Carter at CTU. One of my favorite parts of the episode was when Carter first shows up at CTU and he's kind of looking around and they're talking to him about the technology. And finally, we centralize it. We're all on the same page in the one location. And it gives us a point of reference for the relationships with all the people, where they interact with one another, for when he goes rogue, that it actually means something. Now, unfortunately, he goes rogue by the end of the episode. And which, probably this is my biggest problem with the show this far. I don't like Carter. I don't find Carter interesting or intriguing at all because they haven't made him interesting or intriguing at all. He's just a guy put in a tough situation that hasn't made great choices or hasn't resolved problems. He's good at beating people up, but things just keep getting out of hand, and he trusted a guy he shouldn't trust, so then the files go away, far away, and then he doesn't get them back, and then once again he trusts this guy, and at the end of this episode, he's beating up CTU agents and shutting down CTU. Here's the problem. By the time Jack Bauer started doing that crazy of stuff, we trusted him. We'd seen him for a significant amount of time being competent, having good insight, knowing what he's doing. Why are we supposed to trust Carter when he does this? Because he looked into a guy's eyes? That's what he said. I looked into his eyes and I trust him. The crazy guy that screwed everyone over? That's the guy that you trust? And then because he's an Army Ranger. So you've told us his resume. We've seen him not do great things. And now he's trusting the person where he's been shown to have compromised decision making. So I don't like Carter. And I like Carter a lot less by the end of this episode. And then what we're going to see next week is that he's going to be right, and he's going to kind of bring everyone along and lead the charge to get all the... And we're supposed to like him more. But that's cheating because he's not making good choices. He should be locked up. He shouldn't be solitary. He shut down CTU while there's a terrorist threat going on. Why would we be okay with this? Why would we like Carter for doing this, given what we know about him, given what we've seen, the amount of trust we actually have in him? Not borrowed trust from Ingram's wife, just actual, how much should we trust him? I don't trust him, so I don't like him at this point in time. Final little storyline we've got going on in there is our high school terrorist tried to kill a guy a couple episodes ago. The guy didn't die, made a run for it. So she follows him to the hospital, doesn't want to kill him, is really sad about having to kill him, almost doesn't kill him. He wakes up, goes to choke her, and then she's like, oh no, he's choking me, I'm going to get caught, and then kills him. Or at least up to this point, he's dead. So, we've now killed this character twice. A repeated plot point. Or maybe he'll come back to life in the next episode, in which case they repeat killing him 2 times and him not dying 2 times. He's probably dead this time. But as I'm watching it, I'm just thinking to myself, what hospital is this? And who's this kid's mom that, she's down the hallway, her son's like unconscious from a head injury where he lost a tremendous amount of blood. She's not just sitting there in the chair the whole time. Like, like she just got there. This is like the first 20, 30 minutes the mom is there at the hospital. Have you, I'm just thinking all the times that people have been sick and been in accidents. I've gone to the hospital. For the first like 3 hours, you're just sitting there until the doctors kick you out. If the room's not just closed off, empty, waiting for him to wake up. That just does not happen, which stretches so much plausibility that no one's in there and she can just walk in there with the syringe and screw around with him for 2 or 3 minutes. He starts doing this stuff and the stats start speeding up a little bit, and then it goes flatline and she leaves the syringe there with her fingerprints all over it and she just kind of scurries out. But she'd been in there, I've only watched it the one time. She's in there 30, 45 seconds while it was going, while he's got no response and nobody comes in. What hospital is this? That you've got a guy that came in with a head injury that was unconscious up to this point in time, that it goes beep, and that much time can pass before anyone comes in, and a high school girl can like scurry out crying. I mean, just watching it, so like there's no way to suspend disbelief while watching something where you're like, no, that would not work. And just the plot line in general of there's a person lying in bed, someone walks in that previously trusted them and has to reluctantly kill them. How many times have we seen this in 24 and in so many other things? So, unfortunately, once again, I want to give a positive review. I want to say positive things, but I'm watching it and all I can see are all the things frustrating me, unfortunately, and that's true of this week once again. How about you? Tell me what you thought about it. Hopefully you liked it more than me. And I've been talking to people in the comments section. I've been talking to people in other places. I know other people are liking it a lot more than I am. Awesome. More power to you. I'm not feeling it just yet. Let's talk about it in the comments section. Unfortunately, you guys probably aren't going to like what I had to say. Once again, thank you guys for watching.